Waiting for something, darling? Yes, I'm waiting for a shipment that I need for this week's project.
Darling, who are these Amazons you're always waiting for? The ones I've known have always been quite punctual.
Amazons? It's not Amazons. You know what? Forget it.
Oh, is it the hexing feds?
FedEx? No, it's the Amazons. They're running late because they're in a space battle with the Flying Virgins.
Ooh.
What am I gonna do?
Well, you know, darling, there is someone else you know who's been wanting a little project done.
Oh yes, the little nightstand.
That's not the one I meant.
No?
No, darling, and you know, I was quite gracious and gave you all the space you needed to run around with those two overly dramatic boobs a few weeks ago.
I'm going to regret this. Is there a furniture project you would like me to do?
Darling, how kind of you to ask. Actually, there is.
Really? Well, tell me all about it.
Well, I need a new bedroom set.
A bedroom set?
Yes, darling, I need a king bedroom set with a 4-poster bed and a canopy.
Canopy? A canopy?
Yes, darling, that's what I said, a canopy. And I don't want skinny columns. I want great Grecian columns.
Giant columns.
Yes, and I want all of the pieces to match, except not really.
Uh-huh.
And I want you to paint everything black.
Yeah.
And then sand all of that off.
Mm-hmm.
And then stain everything cherry.
Staining everything cherry.
And then sand all of that off.
Sure.
And then I want you to cover everything in 24-karat gold leaf.
Well, I think I'll go see what's out in the garage.
Sort of if Dracula and Khaleesi from Game of Thrones had a baby. Got it. Gold leaf.
Sure.
Yep. I want 24 karat. Mm-hmm. Yep. Gold leaf.
Yep.
24 karat.
Okay. Got it.
24 karat gold leaf. Gold leaf.
Yep. Sure. 24 karat gold and a canopy. Canopy. I wonder where that little nightstand is. Hi everyone, I'm Andy. Welcome to Furniture Fables. What can't our imaginations dream up when we have a little bit of downtime? Taking inspiration from a beloved work of literature can be as artistically challenging as it is delightful. The respectable Baggins within may worry about the line between tactfully and lovingly referential and cartoonish set piece. But sometimes the tookish part wins out, and we just step outside our front door and let the road take us where it may. Today's main character is this sincere little fellow, a vintage French provincial style nightstand in need of a new adventure. This particular piece was made by a well-known local company, Redlicks, in San Francisco, and although there are some signs of a life well lived, all in all, he is in quite good condition, with everything feeling very sound and solid. The little nightstand's top is a faux wood laminate, very slick, and his finish around edges and feet is definitely peeling, but nothing too difficult to manage. For this sweet guy's redesign, I started by pulling some existing design elements together to create a sort of real-life vision board. I thought it might help pull together a plan. I had always wanted to do a small piece like this one, inspired by the stories of J.R.R. Tolkien, and to me there is something very Hobbitish about all of these elements. And seeing the colors and the textures up against the little nightstand was really helpful for me. I was realizing that although I knew I wanted to paint the piece, I was going to need some amount of brown wood finish for the look to come together. But I had an idea for that I thought might work, and so I began. I removed those lovely flora-inspired pulls and then gave our little hero a good clean with some simple green. Cleaning time is also great getting to know you time, and so I took a minute to look at how the top of the piece was constructed, as well as check the drawer stops and slides, making sure that everything was secure and in good working order. Then I took the nightstand outside and I gave him a good scuff sanding, making sure to use my sense of touch on any spots that had peeling finish. At this stage, your hands will be able to tell better than your eyes what unevenness is present that will show up under a painted finish. I know you can use a razor, but is there really a tool out there that can match a fingernail for getting tape off of a piece? In order to fit my sander into the drawer, I needed to detach it from the dust extractor hose, and then I was able to grind away that Sharpie scribble. And I also took that opportunity to give both drawers a little refresher, being careful not to disturb that original sticker. All right, I set up my little friend back into the workshop, and I rigged up some temporary handles with some longer screws and painter's tape on the back of the drawer fronts. And then I got ready to prime the top. Because it was so slick, I decided to hit that top with a bit of gripping primer. This is Slick Stick by Dixie Belle, but you can use any kind of gripping primer made specifically for slippery surfaces when you are painting laminate. I really like using a foam brush like this one. I find that that angled edge really helps me to get a nice clean application. Okay, then I prepped my first paint color. Yes, I did say first. And no, I was not planning on blending or doing any kind of sanding relief. I just kind of wanted to play around and see what I liked on this little French provincial silhouette. And I figured a coat of this chalk mineral paint in this vintage duck egg blue could work really well as a basic primer for just about any other color I had in mind. When I got it on the piece, I found that this very French blue looked extra French on this nightstand silhouette, and so I decided to check out this very fresh sage green. Everyone knows that hobbits love things that grow, and especially they love food, so perhaps a fresh herbal green would do the trick. But when I saw this pale green on our very curvy friend, I felt that it just looked too sweet and not grounded enough. And so I busted out the color I had been truly wanting to try, this rich, warm, joyful golden yellow. As soon as I saw it hit the piece, I knew I had a winner. It reminded me of a cloak color our hero might wear as he traveled through mysterious lands. Being a yellow, it of course needed a few coats, and so after our friend had a chance to dry, I gave him a second and then a third coat. And then I got out some moss. This moss comes in sheets just like this. It has a peelable backing, but it is quite sheddy. Yep, lots of little moss drippings. Here is something kind of fun. This is a faux moss tile, very bendy, and look, not shedding. Oops. Actually, yes, it is shedding. Lots of little teeny tiny faux moss particles. Okay, so here's this tile. A very literal faux greenery tile that is just basically these small plastic greenery pieces attached to a plastic grid. So why am I looking at these? Well, I had an idea about maybe adding some actual greenery to the piece, like lining the fronts of the drawers. And yes, I am actually crazy enough to do that. And if you don't know that, you probably missed the last two Fables. And while yes, those two options looked a little nutty, I'll admit it, this is how we create, right, friends? Never be afraid to try something that may look a little ridiculous. You never know. It may end up taking you someplace really special. Okay, putting a pin in that idea, I measured those side inset panels, and then I got out this pre-stained wood palette plaque I had found at Michael's. I actually really liked how it looked flipped over, and so I measured and marked it so that I could trim it down with two of its horizontal brace pieces showing. Then I made a quick trip into town for some safety glasses. My old ones had apparently decided to walk off on their own adventure. And I put on my respirator, my glasses, and my ear protection, and I chopped down my palette pieces. You can see that I get low so that I can see if my blade is lining up properly, make whatever adjustments I need to, and then run my saw through. Okay, once I had my 2 panels cut down, I gave them a good sanding using a fine grit rad pad. Oops, forgot to pull out the bit of rope left over. And then I gave them a good coating of some wood glue. And then I added them into those inset sides of the nightstand. For just a little bit of extra stability, and honestly for ease of keeping them in place while that glue dried, I used my nail gun to add a few nails, making sure that they were the correct length and not going to blast through into the body of the stand. Then I went back to my pallet wood because I had an idea for the front of the drawers. I measured out a piece of the wood to be a backing placard of sorts for those pulls, and then chopped that down to size, marked and then drilled holes for the handle screws, gave that placard a quick sanding, made those holes a little bit bigger, and then tested them out to make sure that they were in the right spot. After my first backing placard worked out, I made a second one to match. This time I scratched through the first one's hardware holes so that I could easily drill in the correct spots. Then I gave both of those 2 pieces a quick but pretty thorough sanding, and I grabbed some water-based stain that I had on hand. It wasn't a perfect match to the palette stain, but I just wanted to camouflage those freshly cut edges. Then I gave my top a good finish sanding with a fine grit rad pad, and I did one last coat of color on the top and on those drawer fronts. Do you hear something? What would an adventure be without a dragon, my friends? The Amazons were thankfully quite punctual in their delivery of this little beast. And of course, I think it needs to come to life in this fantastic green. I am using a flat stencil brush, and I'm just dipping it into the paint that's on the inside of the lid and then blotting that off onto a paper towel. You can see that this stencil is moving just a little bit. Unless a stencil has some kind of gripping on the back, it will do that. And so the name of the game is to go up and down with your stenciling motion and use very little paint. That way you can get a nice, clean result. I'll admit, this was sheer delight, and I even found myself adding the fire breather to the bottom of the drawers. All right, it was finally time to seal our piece and really bring its story to life. This is brown finishing wax. Kind of looks like chocolate frosting, doesn't it? Using my wax brush that I use just for dark waxes, I added it to the top of the nightstand, brushing it into all of those nooks and crannies, and then wiped back the excess with a lint-free rag. brown wax is amazing, and one of my favorite applications is to put it over a deep yellow paint. It just really lets the dark undertones of the yellow glow. And my palette would seem to just drink it up joyfully and looked actually kind of fabulous. Okay, though, here is the scoop about wax. Technically, you are supposed to apply a coat of clear wax first and allow that to dry before coming back in with any kind of tinted wax. This really allows you to control the intensity of the wax and also makes removal of some of it much easier. You can actually use clear wax then to sort of erase whatever tint you want. But if you start off with tinted wax, well, that color really just starts to kind of bake into the paint, making removal a little more difficult. I was being very foolhardy here, just plunging in, thinking that a more dramatic look would really work. But in the light of the next day, I decided that it was definitely too heavy an application. We want worn and warm, not dirty and dingy. And so after trying a little clear wax and realizing it really wasn't going to budge the darker wax, I got out some mineral spirits and did a little bit of a waxing make under until I achieved the look I was going for. Okay, back to our drawer fronts. I decided that just a little hint of this somewhat shedding real moss would be just perfect. And so I trimmed down 2 pieces and then glued them to my palette placards, leaving a little bit of that wood showing around the edges. It was finally time for everyone in my family's favorite part. The Orange Grove scented wax came out, and I sealed up those fabulous green dragons, as well as refreshing the inside of the drawers, and gave a little extra slip to those slides. Because I was essentially adding a little bit of extra thickness to our friends' handles, I needed to grab some new hardware screws. My friendly neighborhood Ace hardware guy knew exactly the ones that I needed, and I was able to attach those very Middle-earthy pulls. And then I gave our top one last hit of Orange Grove wax just for good luck. Okay, do you remember our regular run-of-the-mill friend who was already solid and stout of heart, but lacking the marks of a true adventurer, stuck in a rut and in need of just a little push out the front door? Well, here he is, now. If not glittering, certainly glowing in gold, our happy friend seems to just sparkle with life, with wonder, and with the joy of a well-traveled soul. Our hero's dragons are ready to guard and protect any treasures found on epic adventures. and a well-named blade seems just as at home as a cup of tea and a second breakfast in bed. Where in all of Middle-earth have you been, my friend? Did you wait for sunlight to calcify 3 hungry yet not terribly bright trolls? Were you packed rather tightly into a barrel to make a watery escape down a river? Or perhaps you witnessed the birth of Sting and a small yet unlikely hero as they battled together a nightmarish menace in the murky darkness. With his newly refreshed outlook, I think our small hero is ready for another adventure.
So what did my little adventure cost me? Well, some time playing with colors and moss. The nightstand was free. I used 2 of those palettes from Michael's. They were on sale, so about $20. Then another $40 for paint, dragon stencil, some moss, some wax, and things like rags and disposable brushes. And so all in, I'd say my out-of-pocket cost for the nightstand was right at $60. So what will I sell it for? $1 million. Honestly, I've only ventured one other time into the literature-themed world. That was my Alice in Wonderland trunk, and that had transfers of the original artist's work. I don't know, but I'm guessing that the market for Middle-earth themed furniture is small. But it really doesn't matter because I wants it. I wants it. I wants it. I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it. I am. No, I am. I'm keeping it. I hope you enjoyed today's fairly fantastical fable. If so, please leave me a thumbs up and I'd love a comment. Go ahead, let me know. What did you think? And I hope you feel inspired to go ahead, play, experiment with whatever inspiration you'd like. Who knows what you may come up with, what little family treasure you may create, or where on this good green earth your adventure might take you. Thank you so much for joining me, my friends. I will see you next time for more Furniture Fables.